Trade rumors are escalating, and this brand new report reveals a new wild move. I'm here to break down whether or not the Red Sox are likely to move Jarren Duran to the Kansas City Royals in exchange for a very good complimentary starting pitcher. We'll break down all of that and whether or not it would be a good move for the Red Sox if they actually do it. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Red Sox Digest. But first, please do remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Boston Red Sox. We do appreciate the love and support, so thank you guys. But now let's get to it and break down. It may be time for Kris Bubic in Boston. Now, this is not the first time I'm having this conversation on this channel, as Bubic and the Red Sox were in connections last regular season just before the MLB trade deadline, as the Kansas City Royals were volatile and inconsistent and really just weren't playing up to the standard everyone had set for them. Bobby Witt wasn't an MVP candidate. They didn't have as much consistency as everyone was hoping for, and they ended up missing the playoffs. Now, it felt like they were going to miss the playoffs at the halfway point, so it felt like there was a chance they were going to make a drastic trade, possibly involving Bubic, where the Red Sox could go in there and swoop up a starting pitcher to really push the needle. That obviously didn't take place, but it's still a relative possibility because based off these brand new reports from John Morrissey, it seems like the Royals are evaluating the trade market for outfielders during this week's GM meetings. The Angels and the Red Sox are among the possible trade partners at MLB Network. Now, we know the Red Sox are very much involved in the outfield conversation this offseason, and it's because they have a surplus of talent in the outfield. Wilyer Abreu, say Don Rafaela, Jarren Duran, Roman Anthony. The list goes on and on and on. And the question is, who's going to be the one traded? We can rule out Roman. We can rule out, say, Don Rafaela. So between Wilyer Abreu and Jarren Duran, who would be the most likely candidate to be traded? Well, based off the reports that we've broken down over the last week and some change, we have gotten everything we need to know that Jarren Duran could and most likely is on his way out the door in Boston. I really don't hope that happens. I really don't enjoy hearing any of these reports or reading something like this from Jim Bowden, one of the top MLB analysts and insiders covering the game of baseball, when he says it would be a huge surprise if he's in Fort Myers, Florida come spring training, and that the Red Sox absolutely need an upgrade over him. If you guys don't remember, in 2024, Jarren Duran was really, really good, above league average in the vast majority of underlying metrics, but this past season wasn't great to him, especially offensively. Defensively, he was good. He wasn't great. The speed is still killer. He can get around the bases at will, and if anything in the gap, especially in Fenway Park, is going to be at least 2 bases, if not 3, if not 4. We saw him do it again. We saw him do it this past regular season, hitting balls into right center field and running and running and running until he made it all the way home. And that literally seems like it's me joking around. He had an inside-the-park home run this season. It honestly shouldn't be a surprise because of the sprint speed he does maintain. And I know you're looking at the underlying metrics here, and you're like, yeah, obviously it's watch him play the game of baseball. Watch him hit singles and turn the corner at first base and beat out a double. He is ridiculous when it comes to his speed, and I truly believe he could be a legitimate X factor on any championship-level team when he's in the right headspace. But this past year in the wild card, especially in that at-bat against Max Fried with the bases loaded or first and third with 2 outs, being up in that count, 2-0, 3-0, and allowing Fried to work back into that count by only throwing 1 or 2 strikes the entirety of that at-bat, it was like the nail in the coffin. It felt like Duran, you were right there. All you had to do is have one big swing in that wild card series, whether it was game 1 or game 3, game 2, didn't matter. If you had one big swing or one big moment in that series, life would be a lot different right now in the offseason, but now it feels like they are pushing you out the door in Boston. And mind you, this is the year that he just had, but the Red Sox are going to sell him at this value, the year from just a year before in 2024, and they're also going to preach on the top of the roof that he has another, 2.5 years of control, another 3 years of control up until 2028. So Jarren Duran is going to have a ridiculous amount of value. That just leaves us to question, who would they trade Jarren Duran for? Well, I'm going to throw out a name. Kris Bubic. We talked about him before. We talked about him last season, like we mentioned earlier, dating back to the MLB trade deadline when the Red Sox clearly needed starting pitching. The Royals were underwhelming. They were simply not playing up to the standard that everyone had set, and it didn't seem like they were going to make the playoffs in the AL with as competitive as it was and as close as it was at the top of that race. Bubic was really good last year. The only underlying metrics that are below league average are really the only one that Breslow has made it abundantly clear that he cares about and fits into his model, and that's fastball velocity. So that is going to be a problem in this conversation, and I understand that. But when it comes down to it, unless the Red Sox are going to try to trade for someone like Hunter Green, Joe Ryan, Tarek Skubal, the idea of trading Jarren Duran, in one of those trades, it's going to be Jarren plus a few prospects, it feels like. For Kris Bubic, there is a chance in a world where they could move Duran and maybe one lower class prospect in exchange for Bubic, who's only 28 years of age and is coming off the best year of his MLB career. Also, he's not only is he young, but he maintains a legit 5-pitch mix that is deadly. If you look at the swing and miss stuff, as well as the chase percentages, they are way above league average. He can create a lot of swing and miss, and he's not reliant on that fastball. And that's why the 95 plus mile per hour isn't really needed. If it's there, does it help? Absolutely, as today's game is dominated by fastball velocity. But with the swing and miss stuff and the breaking ball value that Kris Bubic maintains, I don't see why the Red Sox wouldn't want to make a trade if it was at the price tag that you could get him for, in the sense of a Jarren Duran, straight up a 1-for-1 trade, or possibly even a Jarren Duran and a low-level prospect. So let's get a gauge on what Kansas City's outfield trade market would really look like and why they are so desperate to acquire a outfielder. Well, this is the article. Again, it'll be tagged down below if you'd like to read the entirety of it. We're going to focus on a few sentences from MLB Trade Rumors on Twitter, and we're going to start with this one, actually. It's logical trade market for the club. The outfield in Kansas City has been a weak spot for the years. 2025 was no exception. The team's outfield had a collective 225, 285, and 348 batting line this season. That's not good. That resulted in a 73 WRC plus, indicating the club's outfield group was 27% worse than the league average. That is not 27% worse than the Boston Red Sox, who were at the top of the entirety of the league when it came to WRC plus for the outfield group specifically. That is the league average. They were 27% worse than the league average. That is horrible. Absolutely horrible. Now, if you continue in this article, it goes on to say that the Angels and the Red Sox plan to both compete in 2026. If either club were to trade an outfielder, they would likely be looking for a return that would help them in big league club as opposed to prospects. So again, looking for MLB ready guys right now rather than prospects. They're going to have to work out and really just get through the AAA, AA system to then call up to the major leagues. We know the Red Sox are very well equipped when it comes to their farm system already. So to move a MLB ready player for another MLB ready player only makes the most sense going forward. And it goes on to mention later that both clubs could use pitching, and the Royals have pitching, and they could possibly use that to leverage a major trade involving the Angels or possibly even the Red Sox. The Red Sox obviously have more goods than the Los Angeles Angels, and because of that, or the Anaheim Angels if you want to go back, I think that the Red Sox are going to be the biggest option here for the Kansas City Royals, and I believe that they could actually go out there and make a trade that wouldn't be as impactful in the sense of what they would have to give up in exchange for such a good starting pitcher in comparisons to guys like Mackenzie Gore, Joe Ryan, Hunter Green, Freddie Peralta. All those guys would be great in Boston, and hear me out, I'm going to make a big wrap and conclusion on this to close out this video. But if you could get someone like Kris Bubic, someone who just performed at the level we saw as a number 4 guy, as a number 5 guy, because Giolito's not coming back. Patrick Sandoval hasn't pitched, and it's unlikely that he's even going to get an opportunity to be a starter in this rotation in Boston. Early's there, and Early should have a starting spot. Crochet's there, he should be, and obviously he's going to be the ace. Bello's there, he'll be the number 3 or number 4 guy in Boston. You have Tolley, is he going to come out of the bullpen? Is he going to be a starter? Few other questions. You have Kyle Harrison, another lefty. Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to get time in Boston in the MLB level? Or are they going to keep him down in AAA? It's going to be interesting. We'll see how that all plays out. Why wouldn't you want to go out and get someone like Kris Bubic if it was a small price tag? If you could go out there and acquire him and throw him in at that number 4 spot like Giolito was, and possibly even that 5 spot, rounding it out with another youngster and Early, and then go out there and make another, this one being Jurassic, and making a blockbuster trade to acquire someone along the lines of Joe Ryan, a Freddie Peralta, a Hunter Green. Yes, those price tags in the sense of trade value are going to be exponentially bigger. But if you could go out there and trade for Kris Bubic on a lower price tag and acquire him because of the absolute desperate need of an outfielder in Kansas City, and then be able to go out there and move a few prospects in exchange for a big name on a rental deal that you can later extend, I think this Red Sox team would be the odds-on favorites to win the World Series this up-and-coming year with a legitimate 5 to 6 man starting rotation in Boston. Let me know down below what your overall thoughts and opinions are, and I'll see you on the next episode of Red Sox Digest.